Good morning, everyone. It is Thursday, December 19th, and we are back with another retirement planning coffee talk. And today's discussion, we will be talking about what you can do for a 401k rollover and the stipulations around what to do with your old 401k when you leave your job, as well as hopefully some other valuable conversations or questions will be asked that I can answer for you guys. So, as always, please leave your comments or questions in the comment section so that I can address them. I would much rather spend this time answering your specific questions than just talking at you. But like I said, if I don't get any live questions, or at least if I don't get them right away, I will briefly discuss what to do with an old 401k if you leave your job, or more specifically, or I guess locally. Sadly enough, for those who haven't heard, Articat is closing here in Thief River Falls and in St. Cloud due to Textron making that decision. Textron bought Articat a few years back, and now they've decided to basically shut it down midway through next year. So with that, it's a little bit of an ironic that they said there's lack of consumer demand, and I get that's very dependent on snow and things like that. And then, of course, today it is snowing all the way across the state, and we're getting like 2 to 5 inches. I will not be doing a coffee talk next week. We will be traveling for family get-togethers. So, with that, just a reminder: weekly retirement planning coffee talks are a casual way for me to connect and answer questions on a live format, even if you're not my client, at no cost. So it's completely free. The reason why I love doing these is because even though I've made a commitment to only having 100 clients or less at all times to make sure I can maximize the value and service I provide my fiduciary clients, I still want to help as many good people as I possibly can, which is why I set aside these almost weekly retirement planning coffee talks on Thursdays to answer your questions and hopefully provide as much value to as many good people as possible. So you can join us on the Facebook Live, which is where we're at here, or you can stop by my office at 1520 Highway 32 South, Suite E, at the Fricky Plaza and enjoy a free cup of coffee and ask questions live, or stick around after to ask questions that you may have. So if you'd rather not ask questions online or in person during the live session, feel free to message me directly, or you can schedule a call with me. The link is included in this post, or you can simply just enjoy coffee at my office and listen to the conversation. There's no pressure to work with me or become a client, whether you join in person or online now or in the future. My mission is to provide my clients the highest quality advice and service possible. To maintain this level of care, I limit my practice to 100 active clients at a time, as I have a fiduciary responsibility to each of them. While I cap the number of clients I work with, I'm dedicated to serving as many people as possible by sharing valuable information and answering your questions. That's why these coffee talks mean so much to me. Disclaimer: this content is not legal, tax, or investment advice. Always consult a qualified professional regarding your own situation. And since this is a live session, I may occasionally make a mistake, but I'll do my best not to. So even though I am licensed to give fiduciary financial advice, we haven't signed any paperwork, so this is not legal financial advice. This is just a conversation, hopefully valuable information for you to apply in the future. I'm looking forward to some great conversations and hope you have a wonderful day. And like I said, next week and the week after, I hope you have an awesome Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Please feel free to comment with questions anytime, now or during the video, or now or anytime during the video, or even after the video. I'd be happy to follow up and do a Money Not Math, address it in next week's coffee talk, or communicate with you directly. I'd much rather answer your questions than read through articles that may or may not be relevant to you, so please don't be shy. And like I said, the link to schedule a call with me if you'd like to have a private conversation is included on this post. So with that, any questions or comments to start with? I'm seeing none for now. Hopefully we'll get some soon. I will just pull up the article here. Excuse me. Been fighting a little bit of a cold here for like 3 weeks. This is just, 'tis the season with kids, right? So this is from Valley News Live. Excuse me. So at valleynewslive.com, Articat to cease operations at Thief River Falls in St. Cloud. They say that Articat is suspending manufacturing indefinitely at its facilities in Thief River Falls and St. Cloud, citing weak market demand. Production is set to stop in the first half of 2025 after fulfilling current customer commitments. An employee tells us the news was shocking, saying, "I found out through the grapevine and social media. So we, a lot of us, that are paid off or laid off, didn't have any idea this was coming today," they said. The employee has been with the company for more than a decade. He adds, "It's devastating to Thief River. As far as other jobs around here, it's very limited. To find anything else around here is a good hour away, like Grand Forks or Fargo." Brandon Haddock, Textron's director of communication, provided the following statement to Valley News Live. In response to the ongoing business conditions facing the power sports industry, Articat will suspend manufacturing operations indefinitely at our facilities in Thief River Falls and St. Cloud, Minnesota, after planned production in the first half 2025 is complete. Textron Inc. also announced that it is exploring strategic alternatives regarding the future of the power sports business. These actions are difficult but necessary as we have continued to experience softness in consumer and market demand, resulting in a need to reduce costs. Articat remains open for business with respect to selling current inventory and providing aftermarket support and services to our existing installed customer base. Our sales organization, customer service teams, aftermarket distribution centers, and other functions are ready to assist our dealers and loyal customers. We are committed to providing the service and support to keep our thousands of loyal customers riding and enjoying Articat vehicles. We will resume production as planned after the new year to produce units under existing customer commitments. However, once that build is completed, we will suspend operations indefinitely and will release our manufacturing employees at the Thief River Falls and St. Cloud facilities. Employees who work through their specific completion date will be offered severance benefits. We will monitor industry conditions throughout this suspension and make further announcements about our operational plans when we have more information to share. We thank our employees, dealers, customers, supporters for their loyalty, patience, and understanding as we weather the difficult conditions facing our business and our industry. Last month, Valley News Live told you about 65 employees at the Thief Falls facility being affected by workforce reductions, and you can read more about that at valleynewslive.com. So first and foremost, my heart goes out to everyone who lost their jobs. I hope you can find a new one if that's what you're looking for, or if you decide to retire. I hope that process goes smoothly for you. I can't imagine what that feels like to just be told the company you work for is closing. So I hope it works out, and you are able to find a new position that you thoroughly enjoy, and hopefully maybe even enjoy even more than the last one. So good luck to all of you out there that have been affected by this. I know it's a lot, both here in the Thief River Falls, St. Cloud, and surrounding areas. With that being said, I want to make sure, I thought it would be prudent, if we don't have any live questions, to cover what can you do with your 401k. Because I know Textron Articat provides a 401k just like many other companies, and even though it's really common that most people have 401ks and retirement accounts, this question comes up a lot of what should I do with it when I either leave my job or, in this case, maybe lose my job due to Articat closing. And there's really 4 primary options that you have. So first, you can leave it with your former employer. In this case, even though Articat closed, Textron still has their 401k plan, right? If you're allowed. Not all 401ks allow it. And some of them only allow it if your balance is high enough. They don't want to pay the fees and all that kind of stuff if your account's too low, so they're not making money off of it. So, if allowed, you can keep your 401k with your previous employer's plan. Your investments will continue to grow tax deferred if it's a 401k, or after tax if it's a Roth 401k, but you will not be able to make new contributions. The advantages to that, super simple, right? You don't have to do anything, just leave it. The disadvantages is there any actual strategy around those investments, right? If you leave it there today, 10 years from now or 10 months from now, your overall plan may need some updating. It's a lot clunkier and harder to plan around something that's just kind of sitting out to the side with no thought involved. And I know that a lot of people lose a lot of opportunity for growth when they do things like that, because their account might be sitting in all bonds or more bonds than it should be. And all of a sudden, 10 years down the road, they could have been getting an average of 5% growth rather than 10% growth over that time, as an example. So it's really important to be really aware of where your 401k investments are allocated, both for a growth standpoint, but also a fee standpoint. I've reviewed a lot of people's 401ks where they will have, just use large cap stock options. They'll have 2 large cap index fund options. One of them is charging 0.1% on fees, and the other one's charging 0.7%. Now, it doesn't sound like a large number, 0.7%, but 0.7% is 7 times more than 0.1%. And over a long period of time, why not save that money in fees when you're essentially allocating your money in a very similar way? So that's really important, and when it comes to that. The second option you have is you can roll it into an IRA, which stands for an individual retirement account, or if it's a Roth 401k, you can roll into a Roth IRA. You can transfer transfer the 401k and do a Roth conversion into a Roth IRA depending on its size and amounts and things like that. But let's not get too complex. Like I said, second default option or basic option is roll into an IRA. You can transfer your 401k into an individual retirement account. This option often provides more investment choices and can simplify managing retirement funds. So it offers more choices because most of us who manage IRAs and give our clients access to them have access to way more investment options and flexibility and annuities and all these different things that you just don't get in your 401k. Because when your company sets up your 401k, they get to elect how many options they want to give you to invest in, and the more options they choose typically means more money in administrative costs they have to pay to whatever company is hosting it. So in this case, Fidelity, if they're the 401k holder for Textron, which I believe they are going to tell Textron, the more options you provide your employees, the more we're going to charge you for those options, right? So you don't have as many options there, whereas someone like me and many other investment advisors, we have access to thousands of options, right? It's a little bit of a different there, but also simplifying your management. If you have someone you trust managing your IRA, they're likely looking at it on a regular basis to make sure it's allocated properly, that lines up with your strategy, rather than just setting it and forgetting it. Which, when it comes to a 401k, typically speaking, in my experience, people aren't really getting advice on their 401k. You can ask questions and they'll get the answers to you, but they aren't really giving you advice and proactively looking at the plan excuse me, and prompting you with questions of their own. So it's like, the way I look at it is like, if you went to the hospital and you told the doctor what to prescribe you, would that be more valuable than going to the doctor and the doctor asking you questions and making a prescription based on their knowledge? And that's kind of the same thing with a 401k. You can go to them and ask them questions, and you can tell them what to do with your money with the options they gave you. But it's not the same as going to the doctor and having them ask you questions and give you advice, which is kind of what hopefully the service you get with your IRA and the financial advisor that you work with. So the third option is you can roll into your new employer's plan. So you can take your old 401k if you get a new job and your new employer also offers a 401k. You can roll it into that plan. You should be able to most of the time. This can be convenient for keeping all your retirement savings in one place, just overall convenience. The fourth option is you can cash it out. While you can withdraw the funds, this option is generally not recommended due to potential taxes and early withdrawal penalties, plus lost opportunity for growth. So the opportunity cost of cashing out your 401k, or any investment for that matter, is the longer your money compounds, the more it grows. So if you cash it out, you're now losing that opportunity for growth in the long run, unless you go reinvest it somewhere else. But also the important thing is, if you're cashing out a tax-deferred 401k, you owe the income taxes on that money this year. And if you're under 59 and a half, you're likely, and there's some circumstances where this doesn't hold true, but you're probably going to have to pay a 10% tax penalty for an early withdrawal. Not an ideal situation. So any questions on the four options that you have with your old 401k? Leave it with your former employer, roll it into an IRA, roll it into your new employer's plan, or cash it out. Seeing none, please ask at any time. You don't have to just do it in that 30 seconds. But seeing none, I also want to address what happens if you have a 401k loan. So a very typical thing that a lot of people do when they need money is they'll take a loan against their 401k while they're at work, right? You got $100,000, you need $20,000 for an unexpected life event, to buy a house, to buy a car, whatever it might be. A lot of people take 401k loans. The problem is, when you leave your current job, that loan almost always has to be paid off. And if it isn't, you may end up having to pay a 10% tax penalty for early withdrawal, and owing income taxes on the money that you loaned, because they basically just treat it as if you cashed that out. So when you're fired or leave your job, your 401k loan typically becomes due immediately. All right, like I said, sometimes there is a repayment period. Everyone's 401k is different, so you have to read someone you trust, a financial advisor should be able to do it for you. I'd be happy to, if you're my client or thinking about becoming one. Usually you have a limited time, often 60 to 90 days, to repay the outstanding loan balance. So if you leave your job today, sometimes or oftentimes you have about 60 to 90 days after today to pay off that loan, so that you can avoid the income tax and tax penalty. If you cannot repay it within this period, the loan is considered to be in default. Like I said, and that's how they treat it, as like you cashed it out. Taxes and penalties, I already talked about that. Rolling over, if you find a new job, so this is actually rare, but it is possible sometimes. If you find a new job, some employers might allow you to roll over the loan into your new 401k plan, but this is not common and depends on your new employer's policy. So definitely look into that within that 60 to 90 days. Consider alternatives. To avoid taxes and penalties, you might consider other funding sources to repay the loan, such as savings or personal loan if feasible. So it might sound weird to take a loan to pay a loan, but if let's say you have a $20,000 401k loan that you don't want to take a 10% tax penalty, which is $2,000, and pay additional taxes on, which if you're in a 25% tax bracket, now you're going to pay another $5,000 in taxes this year. So overall, it's going to cost you about $7,000 in taxes just because you didn't pay back that $20,000 loan. It might be worth going to get a $20,000 loan from the bank via HELOC or however you do it, pay the 8%, which is $1,600 a year. Hopefully you get it paid off, in less than a year. But $1,600 a year in payments or interest compared to a $7,000 tax bill, you basically have, what is that, quick math, 3 to 4 years to pay it off, and still pay less than you would have in that taxes. So it's something worth considering. Not advocating it necessarily. Everyone's situation is different, but something worth thinking about a little bit. So that is the general outline of what you can do with your old 401k and the tax penalties of if you have a loan on your old 401k when you leave your job. I'll take a brief pause here to see if anyone has any questions on that, rules and things like that. And if you don't want to, you're fine. All right, seeing none, I'm going to cover one last article here. That it also pertains to retirement planning, like most of the stuff I like to talk about here, and that hopefully provide you value. So this one is from CBSNews.com, and it says Social Security's full retirement age is increasing in 2025. That impacts a lot of people, right? Here's what to know. Most Americans may consider the standard retirement age to be 65, but the so-called full retirement age for Social Security is already older than that, and it's about to hit an even higher age in 2025. Social Security's full retirement age, FRA, refers to when workers can start claiming their full benefits, which is based on the number of years they've worked as well as their income during their working years. The longer someone works and the higher their income, the more they can receive from Social Security when they finally claim their benefits. While the FRA used to be 65 years old, Congress overhauled the program in 1983 to raise the retirement age threshold in order to account for longer life expectancies, and also account for their mismanagement of Social Security because life expectancy is not really going up anymore, but yeah, they still got to push the ages back. But anyways, back to the article. As part of that revamp, the FRA has been inching higher by 2 months at a time based on a person's birth year. For instance, people who were born in 1957 reach their FRA when they turn 66 and 6 months old, or starting in 2023. But people born in 1958 must turn 66 and 8 months old to qualify for their full benefits, or starting in September 2024. The full retirement age is set to increase again by 2 months, to 66 years and 10 months old for people born in 1959. That means the higher FRA for that cohort will go into effect in 2025, with people born in 1959 starting to qualify for their full benefits in November 2025. You can calculate when you could get your full benefits on the Social Security Administration page. I'm happy to include the link. Make sure I set it aside here so I don't forget. If you're old enough, you should be getting mailings from Social Security regarding your estimates, and those are very, very specific. But if you don't, I will include a link that will help you hopefully find a reasonably accurate estimate. All right. Back to the article here. To be sure, there's flexibility about when to claim Social Security benefits. People can claim as soon as they turn 62 years old, but the trade-off is a reduced benefit that's locked in for the rest of their retirement. Excuse me. For instance, claiming at 62 will result in a benefit that's about 30% less than your full benefit, a sacrifice that many older Americans opt for, given that many are forced into retirement earlier than they expected, or because they believe it makes more sense to claim more years of guaranteed retirement income, even if it's at a lower amount. Each year, Social Security benefits are adjusted to account for inflation, so beneficiaries power doesn't erode over time. In 2025, the annual cost of living adjustment will be 2.5%, the smallest annual COLA hike since 2021 due to cooling inflation. For most, so that means if you, let's say your Social Security this year is $1,000 a month, it should go up 2.5%. So it'd be like 1,025 a month next year. If I did that mental math right, I think so. Young boomers and Gen Xers. The increase in the FRA for people born in 1959 marks the penultimate age change, with the final jump occurring for workers born in or after 1960. Those Americans won't be able to claim their FRA until they hit 67 years old, which means that someone born in January 1960 must hold off until January 2027 to get their full retirement benefits. That will mostly impact the youngest baby boomers and Gen Xers, with the latter generation spanning 1965 to 1980. These workers, however, are among the least prepared for retirement, according to recent research. I hope that doesn't include those who were watching, but hey, the best day to start investing was yesterday. The second best day is today. So take action. Don't keep pushing it off if you haven't already built a plan. These workers, however, are among the least prepared for retirement. Oh, I already said that. The youngest boomers, those born in 1959 and 1965, started to hit 65 this year, but many of them lack adequate savings to support themselves in old age. The ALI Retirement Income Institute found earlier this year. About 1 in 3 of these younger boomers will rely on Social Security benefits for at least 90% of their retirement income when they are 70 years old, the study found. But Social Security benefits are designed to replace about 40% of a person's working income. Gen X, meanwhile, is also shaping up to hit retirement without enough saved for their golden years. The average retirement savings of Gen X households is about $150,000, far below the roughly $1.5 million that Americans say they need to retire comfortably. That's a pretty big gap, right? Another study found that about 40% of Gen Xers don't have a penny saved for retirement. Meanwhile, older Americans can also maximize their Social Security benefits by delaying claiming until they turn 70 years old. At that point, one's benefits are boosted about 25% higher than their full benefits. But only about 4% of Americans wait until they're 70 to claim the maximum Social Security benefit, according to a recent study from the Trans-America Center for Retirement Studies. All right, so any questions, comments, concerns before I wrap it up here? Like I said at the top, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's to everyone. I wish everyone happiness and health for both you and your families. I'm terribly sorry for all of the people who lost their jobs that worked at Articat, and I hope you are able to land on your feet somewhere that you enjoyed even more than your job at Articat. I'll be really curious to see what happens with that big warehouse, if they sell it to another company or what they end up doing there. That obviously has a pretty big impact on the Thief River Falls area. I'm sure it has some impact on the St. Cloud area, probably a little less with as much businesses as there is down there. If you have questions on what you can do with your old 401k, whether it's due to Articat or otherwise, we covered that today, as well as what the penalties are if you have a loan on your 401k when you leave your job. And then last but not least, we discussed the fact that Social Security full retirement age is going up again. So it'll be interesting for those of us who are, it'll be interesting in 20 years what the full retirement age is. They keep just pushing it out. Like, are we going to have to be 80 to get our full retirement? Hopefully not, but like this said, Social Security is built to cover about 40% of your retirement income. So hopefully we can build a plan so that it's only necessary for 40% or less by doing outside planning of our own. All right, so with that, I don't see any questions or comments, so I will let you all enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope that everyone is able to get to where they're going safely with this weather. Thanks, and have a great day.